Once upon a time, there lived two brothers. Their names? Jacob and William Grimm. With only 1 year apart, they were the oldest surviving sons in a family of 9 children. The inseparable pair lived in a house in the countryside until their father Philip, who was a lawyer, died. After that, they had to move into a cramped townhouse. They both went to law school until their mother died. As heads of the family, they took it upon themselves to go and work as librarians. That is where they fell in love with German folklore. Their mission was to protect and preserve this traditional language and how words changed their sounds over time. A part of this mission also included collecting tales. There are the fairy tales, which included witches and trolls, and there were also the folk tales. They collected them from local peasants, villagers, and published works from other languages and cultures. They had their published work called Tales of the Children at Home. This book was published in 1812. It included 86 German fairy tales such as Cinderella, Snow White, Hansel and Gretel, and the Frog Prince. Those were stories that weren't meant for children's ears, not until Walt Disney came along. The two brothers had very different characters, which made their story writing even more interesting. Jacob was an introvert bachelor. He was physically stronger than his brother and also more academic. His role was to research the theories of language and grammar. Whilst Willem was warmer, less physically strong, asthmatic and actually weak-hearted. He was more interested in literature. He gave the stories a classic narrative style. After their huge success, they published their most popular tales, gave them a softer version, and made them a lot cheaper. The result? The Grimm's Fairy Tales, published in 1925. Their younger brother Ludwig made the illustrations, and the book was translated into 160 languages, which was more than Luther's book at the time. Not only their fairy tales were a success, but they were able to shift phonetics in German language. It is known as Grimm's Law, most of which was Jacob's work. He also noticed that their vowels were linked to a common root with various European and Aryan languages. Der Grimm is a project the brothers started in 1838. It was a plan of the brothers to record information about the history and usage of every German word. How long did it take, you ask? Well, it took them 10 years to complete a volume of 350,000 entries, and it weighed over 84 kilos. Today, over more than 6,000 languages are spoken around the world. It isn't until the end of the 18th century that scholars in Europe first began to investigate this history of language. What did they find? Well, with the help of Jacob Grimm and his discovery in languages, and also other people who investigated languages, of course, that they traced their language to one single ancestor language. PIE, which stands for Proto-Indo-European. People believe PIE was spoken around 5,000 years ago in the steppes of southern Russia, which you can see on the map. It's all in green. As people moved from the one place to another, this language split into a number of dialects, which developed over the years. We don't even know how PIE sounds like. We just know that this might not be the first language, it's just the oldest one ever found. You know they are related because it showed how consonants of different Indo-European languages were linked to each other. For example, the P in Sanskrit, Latin or Greek was related to F in Germanic language, which is also English. So, Peter in Latin becomes father in English. And also, pada, pet and pus in Sanskrit, Latin and Greek become foot, voet, fus, voeter and vod in English, Dutch, German, Icelandic and Danic. You also have the K, which was linked to H in non-Germanic and Germanic languages. Caen, canis and kai in Latin, Greek and Welsh become hound and hund in English and German. Today there are 6 official languages in the UN. English, French, Spanish, Chinese, Russian and Arabic. If you don't speak one of them, you won't be heard. The danger of this is that languages might fade away, as we head into a monogamous language world.